womanhood mean to you? Keep it short, in short.
Well, for me, I often feel like it's a state of understanding. So, getting to a point where, regardless of whether it's biological or not, if you identify as a woman, it's being comfortable in your femininity, depending on what that means to you. So it's very much down to the individual, but it's...
So yes, it's individual-based experience.
Yeah.
So, anyone else like to contribute?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that, I think there's a sort of a spirit and an essence around being a woman. But I think, I like to think of that as an inclusive thing. So I don't want to just say, it's about femininity or whatever, you can be butch, you can be what have you, and still have that connection. And I think, things around, the way we communicate and things like that. I think, yeah. And I think, a lot of the things that are deliberate in society are around being a woman and that sort of stuff. So.
Okay, I see. Michelle?
Yeah, I would just say that, again, it's a constant fluid space that changes on a daily basis, in a decade basis, weekly basis. That said, I think that there's a lot that can be done by women for the good, and that there's a kind of collective force, even though women often are subject to oppression. There's this space which is super powerful to use it and use it creatively. So.
Beautiful. Diana?
I just remember being 12 and getting excited about the day I would become one. I didn't.
I'm still waiting.
I don't know how you know when you get there. But I knew it wasn't a birthday. I knew it wasn't my 18th birthday or 21st birthday. I just knew I really wanted to be one someday. And for me, it's about, confidence and strength and being comfortable in your own skin. But there's also some kind of regal element that I think comes with it.
Right. Moving on to the next one. It's a tough one. What one piece of advice would you give to women planning to enter the creative industry or the arts? So just give it a moment.
I would say is just do your own thing. I mean, I think when we talk about entering the industry, I think people think you need to do your masters and do the PhD. But actually, a lot of the people that I admire didn't actually do this thing. Some didn't even go to art school. So I think we need to think about how you don't get locked up in institutions.
Yes.
Because you can come in,
So encouraging
Yeah.
a personal risk taking.
That's a super important point, Chardine, because I've actually institutionalized myself to be able to participate at a level where I'm not excluded from conversations, and I wouldn't encourage everyone to go down that path. And I think that the academic route can only serve you so far, but there's so much to be done in just doing it. So, but the whole point of being in the institution is really interesting, because then you can kind of work from the inside and do something with it. So I think that both sides have a valid point, but be prepared to come up against subtle aggressions, microaggressions, really obvious aggressions, and work out your strategy when you're in it, because it's happening in the live moment, and I'm not always quick enough to work out it's happened.
Yeah.
So that is the worst of the matter. It's like, what? This just happened.
It stops you from even knowing how to react.
So that actually makes me angry.
Yeah.
To say it.
Anything from you?
I often think it's kind of making sure that any kind of titles and statements that we've kind of been fed, the industry is a man's world and all the rest of it, it's just going, no, that's not the case. Just is kind of reminding yourself all the time that there is a support system of women who are doing really amazing work, and it shouldn't be about creating a binary of
No.
male creators, female creators, whatever.
Dana?
Yeah, well, I'm literally in therapy for confidence issues, so, but that opened up a Pandora's box of worms. So that's my advice is, sort out your confidence. Self-validation is really important, self-love.
Yes.
And then you're unstoppable, I think, if you have those things. Yeah.
Well, last question, very simple and also very big as ever, which will be the first question later on. What is femininity to you? Dana, first.
Oh, great. Because I walked. I walked into that. I mean, I read that in your email and I thought, gosh, I only know what it is by society's derision of it, if you know what I mean, which is a terrible definition.
So it's a
everything that we deem lesser is somehow feminine, but there's also, for me, I think it's about empathy and sensitivity and emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Not that masculinity isn't involved in that, and we're all feminine and masculine anyway.
Amazing. Anyone else?
Okay. I mean, I don't associate femininity with aesthetics either. I feel like, somebody can be feminine even if they choose to visually identify as butch. It's not a case. It's not such a kind of binary scale thing.
Yes.
It's much more fluid.
Well, we're going to welcome people in and then we'll continue.
Yeah.
And then,
With
thank you
that,
so much, ladies.